Hey there, Jeff here. Like many of you out there, one of the first memories I have as a kid is receiving my first video game console. It was an NES system, can you believe that? I was like 3 years old and the game I remember getting was actually the golf game on NES, and that was actually pretty fun for me. I had loved playing golf when I was a really little kid. I was pretty good at it. I had a better swing when I was 3 than I do now. Anyways, since I was a kid, one of the things anyone in my family knew I liked was video games, so around Christmas time I was always getting one of these random plug-and-play consoles, whether it was like a Pac-Man thing or like a 3,000 games in one thing that barely ever worked. Well, they still sell them today, and Amazon is filled to the brim with them. So let's go look at some 1-star reviews and just see how terrible these consoles still are. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like and hit that subscribe button because I'm Jeff and I want to hit 1,000 subs and you could be one of them, so let's go. The first item up is the 2024 newest retro game console stick. You can read the rest if you want, but it's one of those game sticks. It looks like an Amazon Fire Stick. You plug it into your TV and you have, it looks like it says 20,000 games and 19 included emulators for $50. Doesn't sound like too bad of a deal. As you can see up there, 4,000 bought in the past month, so people are buying these up for Christmas as this is being recorded in December. Let's go check out those 1-star reviews. Let's see what happened to Cal. I was sent the wrong item. They will not contact me to rectify the situation. And I bought 3 of them because I heard they were good. Contact me, Luminary, so we can make this right. I will delete this review. Who told Cal these were good? They have like a 2.9 rating on Amazon. Like, what the heck is going on here, Cal? You don't have good sources. Let's see what generic Amazon customer had to say. The games keep freezing and returning me to the main menu, and there's a bad delay in the controllers as well. Definitely not worth the money. Just got it today and starting the return today. For $50, it should work without delay or latency. You could literally buy a tablet for less than $50 that could run most emulators on it, up to like a GameCube probably, maybe a little bit under that, but still, like, that's ridiculous. This thing is wild. Like, let's keep reading. We've got another generic Amazon customer, and they had to say, terrible. We plugged this product in and nothing works. What a waste. I was so excited to give this to my kids for Christmas. Glad I checked ahead of time. Wouldn't waste your money on this. Hey, props to this person for trying it out because most people wouldn't try them out, and hey, at least they didn't ruin their kids' Christmas. Unlike my Aunt Betty. Since good things come in threes, we're going to move on to Amazon customer number 3, and they had to say, once I have played a game and don't like it, I can't move back to the previous screen. This is not acceptable. I will be returning my game system. If I was looking at 1-star reviews to try to weed out what kind of problems like a system was having or something, this would be one I wouldn't trust since they can't spell the word played right. Uh-oh, don't look now, it's Amazon customer number 4, coming in from the back. Freezing. Every game I tried kept freezing eventually. Had to keep turning off and trying again with the same outcome. Tried a few TVs, disappointing. I really don't know why the TV would be the problem. I mean, if the TV turns on and plays other stuff, it won't be making a game console freeze. That's like a really weird thing to think. But I mean, hey, I'm glad they troubleshooted it without blaming it right away. They tried multiple TVs. That's more than most people would do. I would try maybe 2 TVs. Let's see what the big RJZ has to say. Don't waste your money. Not worth it. Didn't receive what was advertised.
Then what did you receive? Why can't you tell us? That's part of the review. Why can't you tell us?
Now we're going to go retro with the My Arcade Atari Game Station Pro. It is an Atari 2600, 5200, and 7800 and more. Over 1,000 bought in the past month, so it's being gobbled up for Christmas and is currently going for $68.68 on Amazon. Let's dive right into those reviews. Our first review comes from a doctor. Poor quality, even poorer support. Be prepared to be underwhelmed. The joysticks are an abomination to use. The sticks have very little travel. The B button is positioned quite awkwardly on top of the stick, and the C button is right where you grip the controller. The trackball emulator is alright for what it does, but it's awkwardly positioned on the upper right side of the stick. The emulation is fine, but you can do better with OSS and a PC. Which brings me to the real reason this gets 1 star. A half star if I could. No support for firmware update for Mac or Linux users. So you must have a Windows machine to update the device. In 2023, it's not difficult to provide Linux support for firmware updates. Doesn't have to be simple, nor does it have to have a GUI, though it does take a trivial amount of work to make a Linux firmware tool. I have made them myself, and I have used them for other devices like keyboards and portable music players. It's a travesty that in this day and age you have to keep a Windows 10 10 PC or later around to update firmware for things like this. It's a trivial job to do and nothing Windows has makes it better suited for firmware updates. It's if My Arcade can't port things to Mac or Linux. Fine, if the programmers at My Arcade are not versed in Windows, hire some. But to avoid Mac 2, that's tragic. This could have been a decent emulation station if it had better support for the millions of enthusiasts who like retro gaming but who do not own a Windows machine. Sadly, you really duffed this one, My Arcade. I'm going to be using the word duffed in my personal vernacular way more often from this review. I love that. You duffed this one. Man, at work, you really duffed this one. I can't wait to use that. The doc here does make a good point because there's a lot of people who buy these retro machines and then they'll hack them, in quotes, and make them into like an emulation machine because it has like a pretty decent OS on it. But, you know, this is not that device, it seems, and the doc is very disappointed by it. Don't buy it, says Christopher. Let's see why. The 200 plus games are 50s, 70s games that have 4 different formats to use. The joystick/paddles are slow to react. I did not enjoy anything. I'm surprised there's even 50 games on there.
Aunt Betty called them paddles too. Ugh.
TJ says it's a waste of money and includes a nice picture with it. He had to also say, controllers are awful and barely work if at all. Does not have some of the games others showed in the pictures. Ended up in the trash, as you can see. Remember, this thing is $70 that he just threw away, so TJ is really rich. Grace's husband is a railroad engineer. Let's see if that means anything. Not the best. My husband is a railroad engineer and spends a lot of time in hotels. He bought this to take with him and play games while sitting there waiting. He's not really used it much. He's reported that the controls are difficult to use and don't function well. He's actually asked me to sell it.
Choo choo, sad train noises.
I do feel bad for her husband, because imagine being on the rails all day and then you come into your hotel room, plug this in to play and relax, kick the feet back, play a little Atari, you know, like everyone likes to do, and it just sucks. We have someone so filled with shame they had to remain anonymous. Unit was used, controller is slow, processor is slow. Very disappointed. Paid for a new unit and received a used one. Controller has huge latency that makes playing almost impossible. Buttons don't react until several seconds later, likely due to a slow processor. Games freeze. The 8 AA batteries were also DOA. Piece of junk. I can see why they remained anonymous. If I had received a unit that was supposed to be new and it was used, man, I'd be so mad. And also 8 AA batteries, that's a big red flag to me. Something using 8 AA batteries in 2024, that's insane. For a video game console that doesn't have a dedicated power unit, that's weird, right? Next up is not a wizard, it's a gamer. The gamer named Harry. Bought this product thinking it would take me back to junior high gaming. Nothing that I expected. The games on the system are games I have never heard of. Controllers are very slow and won't keep up with the game. Sorry guys, I would not recommend the system. Hey, thank you for your apology, Harry, because, you know, this would have been your fault if people bought it, so I'm glad he had to say sorry. Johnny had a bit of a unique problem. Let's read about it. Not good at all. My item was used. It had visible signs of wear, carelessly repackaged. The whole box was sticky, and I chose the new option, not used. Someone clearly returned it. Then it was sent to me. I paid for a new one and expected a new one. It's all sticky. My box is all sticky. That is exactly what Johnny said when he received the box, which is just too bad. That'd be disgusting. Getting a new item and receives all gunked up like you ordered it off Goodwill.com, that's not cool at all. Next up, Tony says Google talked to him. What did Google say to him? No Space Invaders, no Galaga, no Pac-Man, no Lunar Lander. Google says Space Invaders is included in the system, but it's clearly not. You cannot download these games. Why would Atari make this system and leave off their best games? Send it back. I feel like you could find a web browser version of all of those games if you just Googled it, or like an open source version of all of those games if you just looked them up instead of trying to buy like a $60 system to play it on. But hey, what do I know, you know? What do I know? Let's mix things up a little bit and move on to a handheld console. Let's do the 16-bit handheld game for kids, adults, 3-inch large screen, preloaded 230 HD classic retro video games. Pretty cool. Let's read how bad it is. 7,000 bought in the past month. Wow, these things are flying out for kids. I feel terrible for them. We'll start off with Colleen. She has to say, black screen. Would love to get one that works for more than a week. Bought one for long car rides. Unfortunately, the screen turned black after a week. We tried different cartridges, hoping it was just that one. Still did not work. Does turn on and has sound, but is useless without the screen working. All packaging was thrown away, so hard to return. My child is really upset. I would have been upset the second I got one of these. Let's move on. Cody included a very nice picture of his handheld here, and he had to say, trash. Only had it for a month, and whenever you turn it on, it's stuck in test mode. And look at that, it says test mode, select the item. Memory test, button test, video test, sound test, or exit. Very, very cheap looking too. Melanie is up next and she had to say, I got these for grandson and very small and crappy. As you can see in the picture with Cody, it looks so cheap that it weighs nothing. Like if Cody let it go, it would hit the ceiling and get stuck there until it would try to get through the ceiling so much it would just crush itself into dust and disappear. Next up is Lisa! And she had to say, terrible, cheap, pixel is bad. Intended on sending it back, but time got away and I'm stuck with it. Not something I would even give away because it is that bad. Sits in the toy box till I throw it away. Lisa does make a good point. This does feel like something you would find in a toy box at like a church or something. You know what I'm saying? Like you would take it out and you'd be like, oh, what is this? You turn it on for like 3 minutes and be like, this thing is junk.
$32 worth of junk.
The battery is shot, according to Kathleen, and she also had to say, this is the second time I've purchased these. Not sure what happens, but I've attempted to replace the battery and it does not hold a charge. Do you guys notice how she says does not hold a charge instead of does not? That's because she's the one actually destroying these devices and she just let it slip there. Trust me, I'm a detective. I watch stuff on YouTube. We go from Kathleen to Kathy and she had to say, Game Boy, not good. Too hard for the kids to put in and take out and the games kids don't like. Well, it's definitely not a Game Boy. A Game Boy would actually be fun to play. This thing is like a discount Game Boy. Like, this thing is like a tier below those old, like, built-in, all-in-one, like, football games you could play. These things are junk. I pity the fool who messes with Mrs. T. And she also had to say, just no. This product was super small and my daughter didn't care for it. If we think back to the picture from Cody, yeah, this thing is tiny. Like, a little kid, maybe like a 5-year-old, if you didn't care if they destroyed it, you could give it to them for, like, a few weeks of play. But I wouldn't give this to even a little kid. It looks so dangerous. It's probably full of lead. Next up we have the Ken Hank Super Console X Retro Video Game Console, built in with 117,000 games. Wow. The funny thing about this one, also down below, it says rich classic games, 50 emulators, and 95,000 plus games. So is it 117,000 or 95,000? It also says this retro console supports 4K, but in parentheses it says 1080p and 720p, so it's probably not 4K. I don't get why it says that, because obviously it would support the lower resolutions, I would hope, right? I'm not too sure. You can play with 2 controllers up to 8 to 10 meters away. Pretty cool. So I guess let's go see how bad this thing is with some 1-star reviews. We'll start off with Amazon customer. They had to say stopped working after using it only a few times. It was cool at first, but after only using it a few times it would not load. Frozen on a loading screen. Tried resetting, unplugging, and everything else. Nothing works. Do not purchase. Does not sound like a good or well-made product at all. If you can use it a few times and it just starts busting, probably a bad soldering job or something. If they opened it up, it was probably just like one little tiny motherboard in there and it's probably just, it's probably terrible. Next up is Joshua. Trash. This is a junk system. Don't waste your money. Super hard to hook up with virtually no instructions. Sent it back the same day. Based on the pictures, it looks like there's like 3 things on it, like a power outlet and then a couple of like HDMI outs and ins possibly. I don't know how this would be hard to hook up, but you know, I'm not going to buy one to figure it out. From Joshua to Joseph, he had to say, just freezing all the time and can't even play games because of freezing. I had one of these before my apartment burned down and it was flawless. This new one I bought is trash for sure. Freezing all the time, you can't save. It's a waste of money. Don't buy it. I guess the earlier model were better, who knows. Also cannot find anyone on support who can help me. These things really must have changed over the years. If his apartment burned down and he decided to spend money on buying another one of these and now they suck, I'm guessing it's a bad soldering job or these are getting drop shipped from like a different manufacturer in China somewhere. But let's keep reading. From Joshua to Joseph to now Janie, the JJJ train. Hey, I'm Jeff, that's 4 J's. Quad. And they had to say, second time I turned on the console, all of the games were gone and most of the emulators and functions no longer worked. Very dissatisfied. Ken Hank has a good reputation, but this console isn't worth buying. I really think if these people are spending the money on these consoles, they really should just look up like how to make your own Raspberry Pi machine or something like that, or whatever the newest one is from there, because I remember Raspberry Pi machines was a big thing like 10 years ago, and just make your emulators on that. Like, just do that. I bet it's a lot better and cheaper and more consistent, and you can probably use any controller on it. Oh, so many options, so many better options. Tanya has a truth bomb for us, and she has to say,
the sale of the software inside is illegal.
This console is essentially illegal. I bought one to see if they were actually infringing on on copyright, and indeed they are. The software inside is given out for free on GitHub. You can put it in any Android box. They are using the software and putting it on a cheap Android box, then reselling it for a huge profit. This is a scam. Buy an Android box with an S905X chip and make your own, then go to Emulex GitHub and download the software. You can get any ROMs you own legally, and it will emulate all your old games. Pretty cool. This box and whole setup is definitely not cool though. Buyer beware. Tiny makes a good point. Make sure all your ROMs are legally purchased. You know what I'm saying? This review does kind of confirm what I was talking about, how this is just a box with like a chip in it that is super cheap to make, and they're probably just drop shipping it from somewhere in like China or something like that and making a ton of money from it. I mean, you saw how many were sold. It's ridiculous. But anyways, that is the end of the video there. So if you like this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more, because I've been Jeff and I'd love to keep you entertained for many, many years to come, hopefully. So I'll see you later. Goodbye.